Hey, welkom bij Podcasten zonder gedoe. Of je nu net start of al wat afleveringen op de teller hebt, in deze podcast krijg je tips, tricks, best practices en mijn ongezouten mening en advies om je podcast te lanceren en daarna verder te laten groeien. Van technische shizzle tot podcastmarketing, deze podcast gaat over all things podcasting. Ik ben Anne-Alice, jouw gids in podcast Wonderland. Dankjewel alvast voor het luisteren. Zet je gemakkelijk. Het is tijd voor podcasten zonder gedoe. Oh, en vond je het interessant? Druk dan op volgen en of deel deze aflevering met minstens 1 andere podcaster die jij kent. Zo help jij mijn podcast ook groeien. Hallo lieve luisteraar. Ik heb een specialeke voor jou. Deze aflevering is een opname van een gesprek met Colin Gray. En Colin is de bedenker en de founder van Alitu, de tool die ik al jaren gebruik om podcasts te maken en waar ik sinds 2024 ook partner van ben. Die opname dateert al van januari 2025 en die is op mijn harde schijf blijven staan omdat ik dan kort daarna, maart 2025, mijn voorlopig laatste aflevering heb opgenomen en dan even een goed jaar gestopt ben met nieuwe afleveringen maken. Om allerlei redenen. Laat ons het kort samenvatten als het leven kan gebeuren. Hè. Maar die opname stond dus nog op mijn harde schijf en ik wou die nog heel graag met jou delen. Omdat het een heel goed en inspirerend gesprek was. En wat wij vertellen in die aflevering is eigenlijk tijdloos. We hebben het onder andere over hoe een blog en een podcast elkaar heel mooi kunnen aanvullen. Hoe dat hij op het idee gekomen is om Alitu te gaan ontwikkelen. En ook helemaal op het einde vertelt hij ook nog waar die naam vandaan komt, voor wie nieuwsgierig is. Hij vertelt over zijn missie om podcasten zo eenvoudig mogelijk te maken voor iedereen. Je krijgt tips om te starten met een podcast en het ook vol te houden. En ik heb Colin ook gevraagd. Natuurlijk, want de titel van de podcast was toen nog Podcast Groei, nu Podcasten zonder gedoe. Maar toen was het nog Podcast Groei, dus ik heb hem ook gevraagd hoe hij ervoor zorgt dat zijn podcast groeit. En ik was heel blij met het antwoord dat hij gaf. Dat het dus ook kan, zoals ik zelf ook al heel lang zeg, zonder sociale media en zonder video. We spreken dan uit over SEO, over samenwerkingen met andere podcasters en over uw superfans in de watten leggen als 3 groeistrategieën die hij ook toepast en ik ook. Ik vermeld daar ook mijn gratis video die ik daarover had gemaakt. Die staat ondertussen niet meer online, maar als je die nog graag hebt, ik heb die opname nog wel. Ik heb hem offline gehaald omdat die niet meer zo up-to-date is. Ik spreek daar nog over een aanbod dat ik ondertussen stopgezet heb. Dus daar komt nog een nieuwe versie van, maar in afwachting daarvan, als je graag die toch al eens bekijkt, want op zich is buiten dan dat aanbod dat niet meer geldig is, klopt al de rest nog wel. Dus als je graag die video 3 strategieën voor podcastgroei bekijkt, dan laat het mij weten. Ik stuur jou met veel plezier de link. En over video gesproken ook. We hebben het in ons gesprek ook over het bewerken en opnemen van video in Alitu. Op het moment van de opname kon dat nog niet. Ondertussen kan je al wel de video mee opnemen in Alitu. Dat kan al even. En nieuw, sinds deze week is het bij mij geactiveerd. Kan je ook de video echt gaan bewerken, ook in Alitu. Ik heb dat zelf nog niet uitgetest, want ik ben een audio-only girl. En het is echt nog maar sinds een paar dagen geactiveerd bij mij. En de uitrol gaat in fases, dus dus binnenkort bij jou wellicht ook, als je het nu nog niet hebt. Nu, heb je zelf nog geen ervaring met het podcast maken met Alitu? Ik geef jou graag een demo om te laten zien wat het allemaal kan. Het linkje om die in te plannen staat in de show notes, helemaal gratis en vrijblijvend. En als je zou zeggen van ik ga daarmee aan de slag, staat ook een kortingcode in de show notes om 50% korting te krijgen op jouw eerste maand abonnement. Linkjes ook naar de blog en de podcast van Colin vind je ook in de show notes. De opname is in het Engels en kleine waarschuwing, Colin is afkomstig uit Schotland, dus hij spreekt met een heel sappig accent. Het zou kunnen dat je daar even aan moet wennen, maar ik zou zeggen, bijt er even door. Het is echt een heel leuk, inspirerend gesprek geworden, al zeg ik het zelf. Dankjewel voor het luisteren alvast en enjoy! Hello Colin, welcome to my show.
Hey, Anne, great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Let me start with a little introduction for my listeners who might not know you. And I got this off your website, so if anything is wrong, don't blame me.
Hopefully I've got my own history right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You mentioned before we recorded, I wrote it a little while ago, so hopefully
yes, it's 2019, so I did some more research and added some stuff that happened after myself,
well, I appreciate
so I hope that is correct. But I will introduce you to my listeners. Colin is a blogger, podcaster, international speaker, founder of the podcast host and Alitu, and co-author of 2 books, Finally Start Your Podcast and Podcast Growth. Started out in astrophysics, wow, rapidly moving on to web design after realizing how much maths was involved in space stuff.
Too much.
I can imagine. And that led him to teaching web design, a fascination for learning technologies, and eventually a PhD in online learning. Well, and since I also have a background in learning and development, I guess we could probably talk about that for hours, but this podcast is about podcasting. So, Colin, tell us, when and how did podcasting enter this equation?
Yeah, it was during that academic phase, actually. I was working at a university in Scotland, in Edinburgh particularly, and I was a learning technologist, which just means really my job was to teach lecturers how to get better at tech to help their students, like to teach with it. And one of the technologies that my boss told me to look into at the time was like, there's this thing called podcasting. I don't know what it's about. Go and have a look and see if it's any use. And so I did. I went and started investigating and just fell in love with the medium, really. It was the kind of mix of the personality, the in-depth engagement, the kind of really deep learning, all that kind of stuff. I just loved the medium, and so kind of fell right into it. Taught it for 3 or 4 years at the university. And then when I left the uni to go and start a PhD, I kind of transitioned some of that knowledge into the podcast host. That was when I really started that site properly and really dove into running Podcraft as our podcast on podcasting, and really started to try and turn it into a business. So yeah, that was kind of the potted history of it.
Yeah. So the podcasting and the blog about podcasting started more as a hobby.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, totally. It was just really a fun thing to write about the stuff I was learning at the time about podcasting. Yeah, for sure. I didn't know it'd go any further than that.
So you started writing about podcasting before you started podcasting?
Well, kind of simultaneously. Well, it was definitely simultaneously. Yeah, like I was writing. I really enjoy writing. The blogging side of things is one of my favorite. Like I love to podcast, but actually I love to write as well because it's a real craft around creating a really good bit of education. It's like part of my teaching background, I guess. So I always felt like it had to go side by side. Like I would speak about something, but I would have a written resource that people could then go and review. It would kind of help them recap what they'd heard. because it's kind of it's an educational science concept, like multimodal learning. So you can listen and read at the same time, and then actually you can take it in more effectively, and it works better for you. So yeah, that was my approach.
The first time you were my guest on my other show, Why Do You Podcast? We discussed also, you have a lot of podcast episodes in the Podcraft show. But well, what I actually wanted to talk to you about now is one of your, projects that turned into a service, I guess, and a business is Alitu, which I use for basically almost everything. And I read on your LinkedIn profile, I will read it out because I think most of my listeners, even though I've talked about Alitu, not a lot of people know it yet in Belgium. I think you wrote on your LinkedIn profile, Alitu is the easiest way to create and publish your podcast, an all-in-one podcasting platform that automates as much as possible and helps you out with the rest, including recording, automated audio cleanup, text-based waveform audio editing, transcriptions, AI titles and show notes, and podcast hosting all in one place. And I couldn't have said it better myself, actually. I just looked this up yesterday, and I think November last year, Jacob, your community manager, asked me to write and to record a video for my partnership webpage for Alitu, and in Dutch, and that is exactly. It's almost a literal translation of what you've written, but and I didn't copy anything. It was just those are exactly the words that I would use because I love it. I use it for basically everything except recording with guests because, epic fail on my side. I cannot get my webcam activated in Alitu, but I think that's more that's my computer, nothing to do with Alitu itself.
I'm sure we can help you with that.
Though.
Let's follow up on that afterwards. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But so I record in Riverside when I have a guest on my show, but solo episodes I record there. One of my 3 shows, my oldest one that is not active anymore, is still hosted there, and I use it for editing, for everything podcast related. Yeah. So how did you come up with the idea? Let's make a tool to do everything podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good question. It was first to say, I really appreciate all that feedback. It's great to have you as a user. One of the most gratifying things about this whole 7 or 8 years around building Alitu is meeting people like yourself that use it, that get so much out of it, and actually just making their podcasting. The whole goal was really just to help people get their voices out into the world. It's to get more opinions and education and entertainment and all that out into the world. So helping with that in any way is just a privilege. It's amazing. It came about really due to the blog and the podcast more than anything else. It was the fact that we were... So about 2016 or so, I'd been running the blog for 6 years at that point. It started in 2010, the podcast even longer than that. And we got so much feedback by that point. We were fortunate enough to be in a good position quite early in the podcasting space. So we grew a good audience around people who are wanting to start a podcast. So we had a really good audience there. We got loads of feedback, loads of questions came in. It was so great to hear from people. But the biggest question that always came in was, how do I make editing easier? How can I make editing less complicated? You don't get into podcasting to become an audio engineer, do you? You don't want to learn LUFS and compression and EQ and high pass, low pass and all of these proper technical scientific engineering terms. It's just not what most podcasters want. Some do, that's cool. So some people are right into that, but most podcasters don't. So I started looking into the concept of being able to automate that in some ways. There was plenty of tools out there at the time that you could use to do it. I was looking at whether we could use some of them in an automated way to tie together a chain that people could sign up, and we could take their audio and we could just pass it through this chain to do so many of the different things that they needed to it. The initial idea was just really to be able to add music automatically, to do the normalization, the leveling, the noise reduction, that audio cleanup, add a fade between the music and the vocals so that it just made it sound nice and polished, and did the audio up, and that would be it. So it was just that kind of editing. And then over the first year or so, we built in actual cutting as well. So being able to cut out your mistakes, having a waveform editor. And that was the first version. It was just an editor and audio cleanup. And that was it was to solve that problem that users, like our audience, just kept telling us was their biggest pain.
I think you did a good job there, because I remember how I started as a podcast manager, podcast editor. I was a VA, virtual assistant, and I met someone, and she told me, yeah, I recorded 5 episodes, but I haven't done anything. They're still on my hard drive, and editing, it scares me a little bit, the technical side of it, but also listening to my own voice again. So is that something you can do for me? And I was like, well, I don't know. I've never done that before, but I will give it a try. And then, well, I was working on a Chromebook at the time. Now I have a Mac, but Chromebook means there's no hard drive. You cannot install any software. So I needed something that was web-based.
Yeah.
And well, I found something, but I opened it and basically my mind exploded.
Too many tools, too many options, too many settings.
Options, yeah. and like you say, it was you had to be an audio engineer to be able to use it, basically, which I am not. And then I found Alitu through, I guess, a simple Google search. And if it wasn't for Alitu, I think I would have given up and told her, find someone else to do it. And I would maybe still be a VA and not a podcast manager.
Yeah.
But it makes it so easy. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. There was so many sort of little steps in that journey about making it easier and easier. And we've had so many opportunities to add more. People are often asking us for more options. And this is the thing, like the way I teach podcasting and the way I think that people can grow a podcast most effectively is really just, you want to make sure your focus is always on the content. Your focus should never be on the tech. It should never be on the sound, the audio. Like, really, the audio should be solved within the first, few steps. So you buy yourself a decent enough USB mic so that your audio sounds decent, and then you find yourself a good replicable workflow to be able to edit it. So nowadays, really, that's just finding software that automates it. Alitu is one, obviously, but there's others out there as well. Like there's lots of options there to automate your audio cleanup, to do some types of editing, like cutting out ums and ahs or cutting out silences if you really want to do that stuff. That's in Alitu and many other tools as well. So like that's the big thing, is to automate that part and not introduce tons of different options, and really just focus on the content. Because people that's when they fall down. They say, right, okay, I want to try and normalize a little bit more now so my levels are better, or I want to do some better EQ so my voice sounds deeper. And you're like, no, that's not what makes the difference. That's not what grows a podcast. That's you getting into the technical details that really don't matter that much. So yeah, that's the thing. So we've deliberately kept options out there. We've deliberately automated as much as we can and taken decisions for people and done things for people so that you as a podcaster don't have to think about that, and you can just put your whole mind on the content.
Yeah. But I do love that you do. I mean, yeah, I understand you want, and I love that about it. You want to keep it simple, but you have been adding, and you keep doing that, adding new features that are actually useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But some even each other out, because, or maybe not, but like first there was the adding extra seconds of silence, which was a bit of a godsend, because sometimes you just need to do that. And what I had done was, I cut 5 seconds of silence from some audio file and saved that as a separate audio file in Alitu. And then when I needed extra seconds, I would just put that 5 seconds of silence in between, but now you've just added a button. Add how many seconds of silence, however many seconds you want. But then now there's also the mute button. And sometimes the reason that you need to add extra silence is because you cut something and then the words come too close to each other.
Makes it too mashed
but
together.
now there's a mute,
totally.
so you don't have to cut, so you don't have to add the silence. I love it.
That's it, isn't it? It's the functionality that's kind of how we've always based it, actually. And I think this is something that anyone out there working on product or anything like that, it's we wait and see really what people are coming up with creative solutions for. So the fact that we saw people like yourself doing that, you were recording bits of silence and then bringing them in and kind of hacking it in a way. As soon as you see people hacking, like more than a few people hacking your tool in some way, you know that that's actually where maybe a feature is worthwhile adding. It's worth adding a little bit extra complexity, an extra button, whatever it might be, because it solves something that people are genuinely doing already.
So you do monitor that? Or is that something that because there's also the user forum where you can post suggestions and then there's a voting system. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit of both, actually. So we keep a real close eye on the feature requests and the voting and stuff like that. But a lot of it is actually just conversations in our support chat. Our support teams really, we empower our support team to answer questions way beyond just the tool. So like if people are struggling with their workflow or even just growing their podcast or questions come in like that. So we have all sorts of conversations come in through the support channel. And so people would come in and talk about this, like people mentioning that kind of workflow you're talking about. Like, I've just brought in the silence. Like, can I make this easier? We're like, not right now, but maybe we can think about how to do that in the future. And so it's those conversations really that bring it to light.
I love that it's, you keep coming up with new stuff that maybe I haven't even thought of myself. And then I'm like, oh yes, I didn't know I needed this, but I needed this.
Now you do.
Yeah. But it's also the reason why, because I also teach podcasters to use Alitu. And I was thinking of creating an online course and recording videos and stuff. But then sometimes one change comes after the other and it goes so fast. I was like, no, I'm going to be recording videos again and again and again, because then because the changes keep coming, which is a good thing. So I thought, no pre-recorded videos. I'm going to do live trainings.
Yeah.
And just show people, share my screen. And
Yeah, that's a really tricky thing with product in general, actually, is keeping your tutorials up to date.
Yes, because I have the choice to do live workshops and demos, but you have a lot of demos on the podcast host YouTube channel also. So you have to keep those up to date. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a constant process. It's good fun though. I always enjoy it. It's not dissimilar to recording a podcast as recording little videos. So if it's a little video that just shows something off, it's like teaching something, almost like you're doing it live, like you're talking about doing a live session. I treat a lot of my tutorial videos like that, like they're just a live recording. So I don't do too much editing. I just keep them quite raw and easy. And that kind of helps keep them up to date and the workflow is simple.
Now we were talking about the new features. Are there any that we can look forward to in the near or not so near future?
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff in our plans. In the most near future, really, you might know this, Anne, but we've reached out to a fair few users about having video recording in Alitu. So we've always been podcast first. We've always been audio first, really, in the past. And we made a deliberate choice around that because it introduces a lot of complexity adding in video. And most podcasters actually don't need nor should use video. Like a lot of podcasts, it doesn't really benefit the podcast to have video recorded. But there's a fair proportion of podcasts that do use it quite well. So we're adding that in as well in demand. So recording will be in very soon. It's already out with a few users. And then editing after that. So being able to actually export an edited version of your podcast on video, that'll be in the next sort of quarter or two as well. so that people can publish a whole episode. So you'll be able to edit it just as you can right now with audio. Use the audio waveform, but you'll have a little video preview there. You can edit via the transcript using the text if you want to. And then at the end, you can output an audio and a video version. The audio one will go to your RSS feed, but you could put the video version wherever. So most likely YouTube, but anywhere else you want to use it too. So that's kind of one of the big things we've been working on over the last 6 months.
Okay, yeah. Well, for me, I'm still old school. Podcast is audio only. Now in Riverside, I do record the video just if I want to. I can make little short snippets to promote the podcast on social media. And then it's nice to have video with it, but I would never put the full episode with video online because, well, for now, I think it's too much bother to do the video editing, but if it can be done easily in Alitu, then maybe I will change my mind.
Yeah, this is it. Like it's why most podcasters shouldn't be doing video is partly the workflow. In a lot of cases, it doesn't add much. So actually, most people are listening in the background anyway, and having just a video of two heads talking to each other in their own rooms is not exactly compelling, isn't it? In most cases.
I heard a quote. I don't remember who said it, but it was in a podcast about podcasting, and they were talking about video podcasts, and he said, adding video to your podcast is like putting racing stripes on a normal average car. It does not add any value.
Yes.
And it does not make it go faster.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, so most podcasts just don't benefit from it. But the key is that a lot of people see the big podcasts nowadays. They see like the Joe Rogans, the Alex Coopers, all the sort of most popular podcasts, and they all have video nowadays. Not all, but a lot of them do. But it's because they actually have the team to manage it. They actually have a production team. They can hire video editors. They can hire people to set up the cameras and the lighting. They can afford a really good camera and lighting setup. And that's really, so that can add polish. That can add actual engagement to people. People might make the effort to watch that on YouTube because of the production value. But for us as individuals, it's like you said there, Anne, the editing is a lot more complex. Mm-hmm. It's much more heavy. The files are massive. You worry about so much more about the visuals, like the lighting, all that kind of stuff. You have to worry about color grading and all this kind of thing. It's just, so it adds so much more time. And therefore, I've seen so many podcasts die because of this. Like people try to take on video as well, even if it's just clips, and it just takes too much time and it ends up, they just stop podcasting altogether because it feels like too much of a task. It's too big a task. Or even worse, like a lot of podcasts not starting at all because they think they have to do video and they can't get over that extra barrier of having to have the visuals and seeing them and the production and learning video editing as well as audio and cameras and all that kind of stuff. So it's a dangerous narrative, and it's something I've been trying to get out there. The fact that for 90% of podcasters, audio only is still by far the better choice. Yeah. It's a tricky one though, because so many people just see the big ones and say, I just want to be like that.
Yeah, and sometimes you get the feeling that you're being pushed into like, I have to do video or it's not going to be good enough. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So, but still, I think it would be a great new feature to have.
Yeah, so
if there's a lot of demand for it.
Yeah, we've still gone ahead with it because, like you say, there's still a lot of demand for it. Even if it's only 10% of podcasters benefit from it, 50% of podcasters want it, and therefore they want to see us offering it when they sign up. And a lot of people do use it well. Whether they figure it. And there's also just the fact that I think we can put our own take on it and actually make it easier. So I think there's a few things we can do, particularly because of the way that Alitu offers editing. We'll let people edit their podcast just as if it was audio. So just the same, we'll try and hide away the videos so that they're not worrying too much about the visuals. Because actually the polish in the videos doesn't really make that much difference in terms of the production value for the most part. There's a few little bells and whistles we can add over time, but I think we can put our own take on it, whereby it doesn't actually add much to the editing process to bring video into it. And we can help them put that out if they really want to.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. Okay. So we've been talking about the editing features in Alitu, but there's more there's also the recording we've discussed, but also hosting.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we built hosting in about 2 years ago because we had just been editing initially, like you said. We had editing and audio cleanup. We built in the call recording because it was such an obvious tie-in to the editing side of things. People really wanted just one place to record and then edit straight away. But then it was the same with hosting. Like, people didn't want to then have to download their audio and take it elsewhere. And hosting's a relatively straightforward thing to build in its kind of standard form. There's a lot of hosts out there have built really complex stuff around hosting, which is great. Like, we recommend other podcast hosts for particular types of things. But if you want just normal, good, decent podcast hosting, it's built into Alitu. And we've got a free tier as well, up to 1,000 downloads, which means that, to be honest, the vast majority of podcasts can fit into that. Like, a lot of podcasts only get sort of, say, 1,000 downloads per month anyway, certainly in their early days at least. So yeah, it suits a lot of people.
It suits me. I get like between 100 and 200 downloads a month, so I'm not nowhere near the 10,000.
Yeah, perfect.
But I'm happy because I like those numbers. And then the one I have hosted on Alitu is my first show, which now I'm contemplating maybe taking it offline, but I haven't decided yet. But
yeah. Oh, there's this life cycle for every show, isn't there?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to take a break. Sometimes one comes to an end quite naturally. But that's you can, if you host it with ourselves, you can keep it on there anyway.
It doesn't cost me anything, but I feel like it's starting to take up some headspace, a bit too much headspace, thinking about it. Should it still be there? I mean, people still listen to it once in a while. But
there's a whole thing around the kind of passion that goes into shows, isn't there? Like, you have these seasons in life where you're really excited and passionate about a particular topic, and it's easy to record. Like, you feel like you're excited to record every single week, and then 5 months later, 6 months later, it's died down a little bit, and you're like, I don't actually have that much to say on this topic right now. So there's definitely, I mean, there's a balance there, I think, between, you can't just give up on a podcast because it's become a little bit hard. Sometimes there's things you can do to kind of remotivate yourself, to do brainstorming sessions, to think up 10, 20 different topics that really get you fired up again, because suddenly you see, that would be a really great, 3 months worth of content. But other times, actually, it is a natural stop, and it's totally okay to stop it for 3 months, 6 months, even forever. But yeah, it's certainly a personal decision.
Yeah. I will think about it some more.
Happy to give some brainstorming tips if you want to try and think up some new episodes for it.
Well, I still have all the episodes in my library in Alitu, so they will not be gone, and I can recycle them in this podcast, in the new one, because the topic is actually the same. But I'll see.
That's the cool thing about podcasts, though, is how evergreen they can be.
Yeah.
As in, I was just talking to Matthew on our team just yesterday about a show that we created nearly 10 years ago now. It's called UK Business Startup. So it was around how to start a business in the UK. We interviewed 10 different people, put a bunch of production into it. It's kind of documentary style. So we're really proud of the thing we made. But it wasn't the kind of thing that was particularly sustainable to do long term, because it was a lot of work. Like, it was a week's worth of work to do one episode. So it would have been our full-time job to try and keep that up on a weekly basis. So we put out 8 episodes it's almost a course on how to start a business. And that has been out for 10 years, and it still gets hundreds of downloads every month. People find it just through search. And it's really cool that that's out there as a thing that people listen to and enjoy and get something from. And there's no need to add to it. It's just a thing that people use and then move on.
Okay. That actually is a good link to my next question, because this podcast is all about podcast growth and podcast marketing, and being found, and SEO is an important part of that. I was wondering, how do you do because you also have a podcast, you even have more than one, but how do you market your show, and how do you use your show as a marketing tool for your business?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, two big questions actually.
Two big questions, yeah.
Let's take I'm happy to talk about how we use it to
Yeah.
market the business too, but take the growth one to start with. I mean, we have two sort of primary active shows just now. We've got Podcraft, which is our show about how to podcast, and we've got the Creator Toolbox, which is more aimed at wider creators. And it's kind of almost an excuse for me and Jacob that, to talk about creator tools, because we're both kind of geeky, nerdy about all sorts of tools and tactics and anything from software to gadgets and gear to mindset hacks to productivity. It's like frameworks and workflows as well as kind of traditional tools. So the two of them right now, with Podcraft particularly, one of the main way, well, there's two ways that we primarily grow Podcraft. One is SEO, as you suggest. So it's tied really strongly into our blog. So we always write good written resources that go alongside every Podcraft episode. Every Podcraft episode tends to answer a really specific question. So it's always quite well tailored towards SEO there, because people are always typing questions into, Google or new AI tools or whatever. And then hopefully that guides them towards our episodes just by text search. They find the written resource, and then they see the player in there, and they end up playing the episode and hopefully subscribing to the show as a result. So a lot of people underestimate the fact that written resources, like, it's really worthwhile. It is a bit of a pain to spend like an hour writing a decent blog post or writing something that goes alongside it. But it is really worthwhile. And that is one of the reasons that our show has always been quite popular in the podcasting space, because we have put the effort into writing these extra resources. And it's never been easier too, to be fair. Like, that is something that AI is actually really good at in terms of content creation, is take the transcript from your episode and give it quite a good specific prompt around, I'd like to write a blog post from this. I want you to keep the same tone and style. I want you to write it from the first person, take quotes from it if you can. So it's really using your language, like it's taking things genuinely from the audio, but it's turning the transcript into a better, concise written post. So that's something that AI actually does really well now. So that's one side of it, the SEO side. Really, a lot of our traffic for the podcast comes via that type of search. And the other side's collaborations. Like, we really enjoy working with other podcasters, and it works really well for the show as well. We do co-hosted episodes fairly often. So we'll have somebody, like, say yourself, Anne, and you podcast about podcasting. So we could pick a topic and we could co-host an episode and then post it on your feed and on my feed. That can work really nicely. A level up of that actually as well, that I learned just recently from Lauren Passell and Ariel Nissenblatt, is to actually take that as two parts. I'd never thought about this before, but it's a lovely idea.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Did you take it? Yeah.
It's very smart. Yeah.
Exactly. So instead of having the exact same episode on each feed, in which case maybe you don't get people listening to both, you still will get a bit of cross-pollination. People will start listening to both shows, but you put the first part of the episode on your feed and then the second part on the other person's feed. And then suddenly there's even more incentive to subscribe to both feeds and then listen to both ongoing. So I love that little tip there as well. And there's lots of kind of lower lift ones as well. Like, you can do those collaboration. You can even just take an episode from somebody else's feed. So I could take one of your tutorial episodes, Anne, and we could post it on Podcraft, record a little 2-minute intro, just say, hey folks, Colin here on Podcraft. Today we've got Anne Alice, who's going to give us a guest lecture here. So she'll be on for the next 20 minutes. If you want to subscribe to our show, go over to blah, blah, blah. And those kind of feed drops work really nicely too. And even the smallest is just a trailer swap or an ad swap. Like, just mention somebody else's podcast and do it in exchange for them mentioning yours on theirs as well. So those kind of collaborations, I think, work really nicely. And there's so many creative ways you can do it as well. Like, I've got an article actually and a YouTube video on 12 different ways to do collaborations with other podcasters.
12,
so
wow. Yeah.
So there's no shortage of ways that you can go about this. Happy to give you that link if you want to pop that in the show notes. Actually,
Yes,
just on YouTube.
We should do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really actually, I'm happy that you say SEO and collaborations, because I have a free video also for download on my website for the three most effective ways to grow your show, and SEO and collaborations are two of them, and the third is taking care of your super fans, as Pat Flynn calls them. just they do free marketing for you, basically. Yeah. So
yeah, that's true. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
What ways have you
well,
done to use to do that, to maintain sort of relationships with your super fans? Have you done much work on that?
well, I try to. Well, it's. I guess it's a bit easier if you don't have like a million listeners.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I know them. Actually, I know them personally, and that is not because they are my mother or my brother, because I don't think they are listening. But no, they are actual podcasters that they give me feedback. They share my episodes without me asking them to do it. They tell everyone, you should listen to this podcast because it's really good. They send me a message if I don't post a new episode.
That's when you know you've got super fans.
Yeah. There was no new episode today. Are you okay? Are you sick? Are you feeling fine? Yeah. So
I do. I love that tactic. It's a really good point. And there's so many ways you can do this, but what have you done to actually, so how did you get to know those people? Like, how did they initially reach out? Did you offer a way for them to get in contact with you?
Yes. All my contact details are in the show notes. So people can send me messages through Instagram, LinkedIn, contact form on my website, and I have a SpeakPipe voicemail, so you can even
excellent. Yeah, so you've got a variety of ways for people to get in touch directly, personally.
Yes. So when I get a message, and I always reply, of course, and then sometimes there's a conversation starting, and with one of them, well, she became my client, and now she's even a friend. So
I love that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a really nice way to do it. Certainly in the early days, even up to like hundreds, if not in the low thousands of listeners. And something that you kind of need to do as your show grows is to start to, hopefully, you won't be able to manage that level of input, level of incoming when it's like thousands of listeners necessarily. But you can even do it earlier too. I really like the idea of creating a community these days around your, like creating a space for your listeners to congregate. This is a really good growth tactic. If you can find even 10, 15, 20 listeners just in a small space where they can talk to each other, but equally they can give feedback to you. And it's all in this one place. So it's all kind of managed. It's all quite not public exactly. You can make it a private community. So it could be something like a Circle community. We use Circle for this. So we've got our Indie Pod community, which is our general podcasting community, but we also have small spaces within that, one for Podcraft, one for the Creator Toolbox. And one of our core calls to action right now is to encourage people to go and join those spaces and chat with us, send us questions there, give us feedback on the show. I'm still kind of playing with how to really incentivize people to do this. I haven't figured out the best way to really persuade people that it's worth their while. Like, there is something really valuable about just having those conversations, just being able to give us questions, to appear on the show. But I think there's more we can do with that too. So I'm playing with that. And another way to do that as well is, have you come across, do you know Brian Castle at all? He's a podcaster. Maybe not come across his stuff, but he runs a tool called Clarity Flow, but also a tool called Ripple. So Ripple.fm is a private podcasting space that he developed over the last year or so. And it's designed for exactly this. It's designed for you to be able to create a little private space for your podcast where your community can gather. They can give you feedback. They can chat with each other, but also you can post private episodes. So that's one of, like I'm saying about this incentive, that's one of those incentives to join, because you'll start posting little sort of premium content maybe, or behind the scenes content. Or it could be, he's actually just using it a lot for kind of diary style content. So it's behind the scenes. It's like, hey community, so today I'm working on blah, 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 which people really love, like hearing more behind the scenes or kind of more personal stuff that's not necessarily on the main podcast. But equally, it could be extra episodes. It could be kind of extra interviews, stuff like that as well. So I love that. And I'm going to try and build that into our Circle community space over the next little while too.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Lots of new ideas.
Sometimes too many.
Yeah, I know the feeling. But then, then there's the art of making good choices. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Prioritization. That's the key. Focus and prioritization.
All right. Maybe one more question about, maybe you get this question a lot, but going back to Alitu, does it actually mean something, the word?
I'm afraid not. I sometimes think I need to make up a story about this, but then I'm like, I shouldn't make something up, should I? The name really, it's a kind of a boring but slightly interesting story, potentially. I used to just play around with websites when I was in my younger days, in my 20s. I would make little sites. I would play around with just different ways of building stuff on the internet and like trying to earn a little bit of revenue from things. And one of the fashionable ways to do that or one of the effective ways to do that in the kind of early 2000s was to run a directory. So you'd set up a directory on WordPress. You would charge people $50 to get into it because basically it was worth $50 just to get a backlink from this directory in those days. It doesn't work anymore, but I set one up. In fact, I bought one on a marketplace for $100 and it was called alitu.com, came with that domain, and it was a business directory. And I ran it for maybe 2 years. And earned, a little bit of that. And I think I earned like $1,000 from it over a couple of years or something. So I made a little bit on it over a couple of years. But then obviously Google kind of killed that whole approach by adding in domain authority and reputation and things like that. So some random directory no longer gives you any kind of benefit really on an SEO status. So I just shut it down, but I kept the domain, and the domain had been in my portfolio for like 10 years. And so when we were starting to build this app, I was trying to come up with names. I was thinking of things like the podcast engine, the podcastmaker.com, all these kind of longer, more descriptive names. And actually I had it in my head that I wanted it to be a bit more open so that we could add in video potentially in future. My idea was to work with YouTubers as well, or bloggers as well. It was around repurposing that to blogging as well in the early days. So I wanted to give myself the option to expand out. And I suddenly realized I had this 5-letter domain in my portfolio. And that's actually really valuable. Like it's impossible to buy a 5-letter domain these days. So I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to go with that. Takes away the decision because coming up with names is hard. Takes ages. And I quite like it as a name. It's kind of, it's got its pros and its cons. We have trouble these days. Sometimes people don't say it in the same way. Like you can say Alitu, Alitu, different ways and spelling it. So it's not perfect, but we've always stuck with it. And I don't know, I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it does have a nice sound, but as you say, sometimes it's complicated. Even if it's a short word, what is the correct way to pronounce it?
Yeah.
And when I talk about it, I get a lot of like, what? How do you spell that? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The hope is to make it popular enough over the next few years that, everyone just knows it anyway. So like no one asks how to spell Google anymore, or, these weird words that have become part of our, our lexicon. Yeah.
Now that you say that, I do have one Polish friend who keeps insisting that it's not Google, but Goggle. But
yeah.
But no, we will also, that's why I invited you on the show. Also, one of the reasons we will do our best to make Alitu known in Belgium.
Nice. Excellent.
So
it's great to work with you on it.
I'm very happy to be a partner. And if anyone is curious now on what this tool can do for you as a podcaster, I give free demos. So if you can always start your free 7-day trial, but if you want a personal tour from me, then you can just book that. Also, I'll put the link in the show notes.
Perfect. That sounds great. Yeah.
Right. So thank you, Colin, for making time to talk about my favorite podcasting tool.
I hope that. Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on, and it's great to talk about podcasting growth for a little while as well, because it's certainly it'd be great to help any podcasters out there get a little bit more audience around their show. Yeah. So hope that helps.
Yes, I think it did, and I think it really can be a reassurance also to people that maybe are a bit reluctant to start a podcast, because what you said, you don't need to do video, you don't even need to be on social media to promote your show, to grow your show, because there's lots of ways to do it without social media. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've actually got an article on that. One of our team, Matthew, one of our writers, is really, he's like almost fanatically anti-social media. He's quite traditional. He's not an old guy either. He's like quite a young guy, but he's still like fanatically anti-social media. So he wrote a growth article on our site, on the podcast host, about how to grow your show without social media or video. That's the idea. So it's like how to grow a podcast without all of these things that people tell you need. So I'll send over a link to that as well, because I think it's a real kind of, when people see it, they really like it. They give us great feedback, because it's like, oh, thank goodness. I thought I needed to be on Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn and all these places, and I hate doing all those things. And also video, I don't want to do video, but I thought I had to. So as soon as you find out that, yes, podcasts are still growing really nicely, there's still so many successful podcasts that are growing up just by using normal podcast growth techniques and not worrying about social or video. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to end. Yeah. No video, no socials. I could go with that. I could live with that.
Cool. Sounds good.
That's why I started my podcast to, I'm seriously thinking about leaving the socials.
Yeah. So. Great stuff. Well, thanks for having me on. It's been great fun.
Yes. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk again soon, I guess.
Cheers. Yeah. Bye-bye.